What's up, family? What's going on with everybody? I hope you guys can see me. I can't really see me that well, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's doing that. It's kind of weird. But anyway, guys, welcome to the show. It's your girl Samantha Lee. I apologize, y'all. I did not go live. Somebody said, sorry, Sam, I missed you Wednesday. I didn't go live Wednesday. That's why I'm going live now. I'm gonna go ahead and set up the TikTok because I am gonna go ahead and do the show. Now I'm gonna be done, y'all, at 12:30. So this is not gonna be like one of them shows, and I'm gonna keep y'all for a very long time. I am going to silence my notifications and get this started. I apologize for the oh goodness, sorry, y'all. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. Okay, we go live here. Oh, y'all. Okay, I'm gonna go live. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go live. Today's live show, I want to first say thank you guys for those of you who come on. I know that this is a different time. This is not a time I normally go live, but I'm doing it because I did not go live on Wednesday. I was out of town. I went to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I recorded a podcast with a young lady named Jordan. If you guys are familiar, her name is Jordan's Journey. And I had a blast, had a great time. We have a great episode that will be coming out, so make sure you tune in for that. But yeah, so I'm here, and we're gonna go through what I plan on doing on Wednesday today. But I first want to apologize because I was not here like I normally am. Okay, but your girl, unfortunately, y'all, I be trying to, make sure we get everything together and, we see each other as often as we can and be consistent. But I really wanted, that podcast was, I'm in a different direction. I'm in a different headspace. And I really just wanted to go out there. And I had a great time. I enjoyed it. I had a great time breaking bread with other women of God that are trying to do things a different way. So that was really fun. So you will be seeing that soon. So just, keep that in mind. Let me make sure I'm sitting a certain way. I'm feeling like fluffy right now. It's like a fluffy time, like where I feel really fluff. I just feel so uncomfortable with myself right now. Like, I don't know. I feel so blah. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. This being a woman thing it's tough, man. It's tough being a woman because you be feeling like blah, just randomly. I got to rebuke and bind it in the name of Jesus. I'm like, do I look like a fluffy, y'all, when I be feeling out of it, I feel like I look like a beluga whale. I feel like a beluga whale right now. I don't know what it is. Oh, Lord. Okay. Anyway. Thank you, Jason. Jason said you look great. Thank you, guys. I feel like a fluffy fluff. I'm just being honest, y'all. Holy Spirit, give me the words to say, and thank you. I don't like feeling fluffy, y'all. I like feeling fine and fit. I don't like feeling fluffy wuffy. That's not my thing. Anyway, today's show, we are going to talk about the 5 emotional wounds that are sabotaging your life without you even knowing it. Now, I touched this on, what is it called? I touched this on Monday, but I am going to go back into the subject because I want to make sure that we cover this and we cover this well. Okay. So with that being said, make sure you get your pen and paper out. We're going to get into it today. If you guys don't know, if you're joining live right now, my name is Samantha Lee. I have a platform on 4 networks, which is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm a full-time therapist. That also does content creation full-time. I utilize my perspectives from the psychological space, from my observations, from my own experiences and my spirituality. I infuse that together and create content that seems to be countercultural. I do this 5 to 6 days a week. So I try to be very consistent. We're working on that. I also have a podcast. The episode is out now. the More Than Just Pretty podcast. So if you guys have not listened to my new episode, it just came out this morning. I believe it is called, I think it's like Woo the Conviction. I named it originally The Conviction. And a lot of this episode is going to be about the conviction. Edna's asking about how do you reach me for one-on-ones? All you got to do is go to lovesamanthalee.com. There's a link there where you can do one-on-ones with me. Okay. I know I don't look professional like that today, y'all. I got off a flight. My hair is like blah, 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 because I worked out this morning and I needed to get beat up. Okay. I needed to get beat up in that gym. So it is what it is. I don't like feeling like a fluffy monster. I don't. To be a woman. Anyway, besides the point. So, okay, 5 emotional wounds that are sabotaging your life. Now, if you guys were not here for Monday, this is how it started. When I first was talking about all of this, I was telling you guys about a moment of conviction. Now, you have to listen to the podcast for all of it, but I'm going to give you a brief little synopsis of what was going on. Right now, I do feel like God has me in a season, right? Has me in a season where I'm growing. There's a lot of things he's teaching me, downloading to me, revealing about me. And in the faith, that is called a wilderness season, where God kind of separates you from people. He's letting you know about something. Let's say there's something that you desire, something that you're looking forward or towards. And in this season, once he gives you that promise, he puts you through a process. That process looks different for different people. And so in this process, God has put me in. I thought it was one way, and he done broke me out of a lot of different things in this process. So for anybody who's going through a process where you feel like you're separated in certain areas of your life, where you feel like God is taking you, he's isolating you, he's teaching you things about yourself, he's revealing you to you, it's called a wilderness. All right. And that wilderness season is to break you, to build you. So for the first 6 weeks, and I'm sure there's going to be more that happen. I'm still being broken as we speak. More and more is revealed to you. And when those things are revealed to you, you then make a decision on whether or not you're going to keep those things, give up on the process, or you stick into the process for a promise. Okay. And so wilderness season. All right. And so in this, John says, I'm glad you're continuing this. I've not heard of anyone explain the wilderness this way with the core wounds. Absolutely. This is why I'm talking about this. Okay. So let's get into core wounds. On Sunday, I went to church, and I'm, in there, what praise and worship and things like that. Pastor talks about how a mature Christian, a mature person of faith, is not gimme, gimme, gimme. It's make me. The position of a mature Christian is make me. YouTube user says, I'm going through a process, but I'm trusting the journey. Absolutely. Absolutely. Edna asks a really good question. Thank you, Edna. I love the question. She says, where is the wilderness in the Bible? Wilderness in the Bible is in Genesis. And then we go to Exodus, where they exit Egypt. Okay, so Moses is, I don't know if you've heard of Moses, but Moses in the Bible is a main character. He's got main character energy. Moses was designated by God in his 80s by a burning bush to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt. They had been for centuries oppressed, suppressed, and God, after a while, they had stubborn hearts. They decided to say, hey, God, I need you. And God said, you know what? I'm not going to answer you. I'm going to raise up somebody to take you out of Egypt. Right? So he's gotten the authority from God, and the thing about this, y'all, this is what I have to say, because this just came to my spirit. Holy Spirit, please speak through me today, because I'm weak. I need you. The thing about this is that he was prepared for this moment his entire life. Moses was raised Egyptian. All right. His mother let him in. I don't know if you guys know the story, but let him down a river the Egyptian princess got him out the water and raised him as his own, as her own. So he is a Jewish man who was raised Egyptian, right? Understands, can speak the language, knows the customs. He is a unique individual in the Bible. All right, because at the time Moses was born, there was a mandate to unalive the young boys that were the young boys that were being born at that time. Okay, so he was literally built for this. The first moment that he has where he sees some type of negative treatment towards his people, he actually goes out of character and unalives a man straight up. Okay, he goes about his life acting like it didn't happen, but shortly thereafter he's confronted. He says something to some Jewish men, and they say, "Oh, are you gonna take us out like you did that Egyptian soldier?" He runs away. He's like, I've been found out. Gotta go. So he leaves, goes into a different place. He lives a whole different life for 40 years. In that time frame, at the end of it, where I believe God felt like, okay, he had, you'll see the number 4 and 40 a lot throughout the Bible. Found out that means completion. Okay, 40 days completion. So for those of you guys who are on this Lent or on this journey, 40 days is completion. Jesus was out in the wilderness for 40 days, right? Means completion. 440. You'll see 440 a lot throughout the Bible. Anyway, back to what we're saying. So he's now designated by God because he was his whole life. He did not know it. And I want to challenge you guys all throughout here. He did not know it. He had no idea. He had no idea that throughout his life he was being prepared. He was being prepared. He was being prepared. And so in this, whether he realized it or not, he was raised to do this. He was born to do this. He was given the heart posture, the story, and everything to be who God used him. So God speaks to him through a burning bush. And that burning bush catches his attention. He's like, okay, I understand. But God, I don't speak very well. I stutter. And he's like, well, your brother Aaron will come along with you and you will go to Pharaoh. Okay. So then you find that Pharaoh his heart is hardened, not because Pharaoh's heart was hard, but because God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Why did God harden Pharaoh's heart? God hardened Pharaoh's heart because it says in the Bible, he wanted the people of Israel and the Egyptians to know who the true God is. So some people, y'all might be saying, oh, why are these people's heart? There might be people in your life, their hearts are hard towards you. They have a moment of this and then they have a moment of that. It's back and forth. You don't know what's going on. Sometimes God uses those people to reveal his goodness and his mercy and his strength. You want them to do what you want them to do. And if they did do it according to how you wanted it to be done, you wouldn't see the power of God. You'd just be like, oh, they're just good people. They're just good people. No, God wants you to know that they were specifically challenging, and I had to do a work to make them softer, to be able to, even if their hearts are still hard towards you, they're going to bless you anyway. That's why it says in Psalms 23, I will prepare a feast for you in the presence of your enemies. Your cup will overflow with oil. That is what that is. Okay. So that's what we have to understand, right? So a lot of times we want our enemies to do what we want them to do. God says, no, I want you to be clear that's an enemy. So when I do something in them, you're clear it was me. I want to get the glory. That's the whole point of the story, is for God to get the glory. Let's go back. Wilderness. So a lot of times with wilderness seasons and wilderness moments, you're going to have a situation where, of course, the wilderness is it's a season where you're being isolated by God. It's a season where you're being isolated by God. Now, I don't know what's going on, you guys. A lot of y'all on my TikTok, I'm going to go ahead. I block and rebuke because a lot of y'all just be talking and I don't even know you. And you're talking about things you know nothing about. And I'm just going to keep blocking you because we're talking about the Lord and you're talking about stuff you don't know. So please leave the live, because y'all just, I'm not here for that. I'm here to talk about God. I'm not here to talk about to gossip and the things y'all want to talk about. That is not where I'm at. Let's talk about the Lord. If not, get off. Like for real, I don't care. Let's just get off. Because you're not even speaking facts. You're just speaking God. I just don't like that. Let's move on. Let's move on. I knew that, you know what? I rebuked him by the enemy. I knew he was gonna do something today. I knew it. I knew the enemy was gonna try me today. I knew it. I knew it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. As I'm like my thing, y'all, you have to know this. When you start walking in your calling, there's going to be opposition. There is going to be opposition. I want you guys to know that that is not a sign or indication. Like in this moment, people are over here saying like things that are untrue towards me. Do I get off and give up because they have a bad perception of me or they're saying negative things? No, I don't get off. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going because God's called me to this. So I don't care what you say because at the end of the day, God has me here. Let's move forward. Just understanding, because at the end of the day, when God calls us to something, there is going to be opposition. Most people think that because there's challenges in the wilderness, that means it's not where you're supposed to be. No, the fact that there's challenges in the wilderness that means you're exactly where you need to be, right? So with this being said, we go through this process. The Israelites are then set free after 10 plagues are set over Egypt. They go into the Red Sea is parted. They have seen the hand of God mightily, and they're now been given a promise, which is a promised land, and they're now being brought into the wilderness. They're being brought into the wilderness. Okay? In this season, they are stripped away from everything that makes them feel comfortable. Right? They don't have a consistent source of food. They don't have a consistent source. They don't have a consistent source of anything. And they have to be dependent upon God. And that was because for years and years and years, centuries and centuries, they were not doing that. So now that they're torn away from everything that makes them feel comfortable, God is now trying to teach them to depend on him, that he is the provider. God starts with his hand and he wants them to seek his face. That's how God usually moves. He starts with his hand and then he asks you to seek his face, right? So wilderness season. Some of you guys are dealing with constant doubt, discouragement. There's things that are happening in your world and in your life you cannot understand, opposition that just doesn't make sense. And you're feeling isolated and you feel like God is calling you to him. You don't really know how to begin. You don't know how to start. That's part of the reason for the wilderness. A lot of times, people, they want to be promoted without process. They want to be promoted without they want to get to the next level, the promotion, that in life without process. Process has to occur. You cannot fight process. And so in this wilderness season, part of the process, which is the point of this live, is for you to know, or for you to understand that there are wounds that you're dealing with, right? There are wounds that we're dealing with that we've been nursing a lot of times from childhood that are coming up in our day-to-day life, right? So when you're dealing with a situation where you're dealing with betrayal, you're dealing with rejection, you're dealing with loss, you're dealing with grief, you're dealing with, I have one of my main ones is injustice. People that come from, very strict parents or very strict households have a thing with injustice. They're very big about not being misled. They have a big thing about not being, what was the other one? They don't like being misled. And they really want things to be fair. And they're not going to put themselves, they're perfectionists. They're not going to put themselves out there. They don't like being vulnerable. That's the core wound of injustice, right? You're not very flexible. You're very rigid. And so the work that's done in the wilderness season, a lot of times, is breaking you out of one version of having faith in God into another version of having faith in God. Okay? Because the first version of the faith in God is, I want. Right? That's the first version. The first version, as you go into the wilderness, is you're set on the promise. You're set on, I want the house. I want the promotion. I want the marriage. I want this. I want that. You're on the I want. In the wilderness season, God is breaking you out of that. He's now saying, I want you to be so dependent on me that the promise doesn't even matter. That I want you to value the gift giver more than the gift. Most Christians don't break out of that. They stay in a place of, I want gifts. Gimme. God says, no, I'm trying to break you from being a child to being an adult. I'm trying to break you from having milk to really having meat and potatoes. That's the point of the wilderness. The wilderness is to really test you, to get you to a more mature level of faith, to be able to handle what's coming with it. Okay? Because on the other side of the promotion, there's going to be a level that you are going to reach or have to reach that is going to require more from you. And you can't give up. Because here's the thing. This is the lie that the world tells us. The world tells us, oh, you're not going to get out of promise. God is already, whatever promises God has on your life, it's always going to happen. Doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. We see in the story with the Israelites that that's not true. That because of the fact God's plan was for them to enter into the wilderness in a year. That was his ultimate goal. That's what he ultimately wanted from them. I think he had a sneaking suspicion it probably wasn't going to happen, but he still gave his ultimate plan was for them to enter into the promised land. What happened was that when they got to the promised land, or when they got to see the promised land, there was obstacles in the promised land. There was giants there. There was things that they did not see coming. And so some of you guys might have a promised land, and there's obstacles in the promised land or before the promised land that you don't feel like you can defeat. And so that makes all of us, y'all, I don't want to preach. That makes all of us want to give up before promise. Because every time we get close to the promised land, every time we're able to see it, it's always, I'm going to say this again, it always looks unattainable. It always looks like it's not going to happen. It always looks like it's too much for us to bear. It always looks like that. It always does. But on the other side of the promise, if you push through and you're like, if God brought me to this mountain, if God brought me to this challenge, he is going to move the mountain. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it feels like. I don't care how it seems. If God brought me here, then I have the authority to tell this mountain to move. And people are saying, I don't give up. I never fold. I hear you. But when you're not giving up and you're not folding, that's not, oh, I'm just saying that. That's not, I'm not giving up. I trust God. No, your walk will align with the fact that you believe. Now, a lot of people say they got faith, but when you see how they live their life, they don't got faith in God. They got faith in themselves. Because it's not about what you think you should do. It's not about where you feel like you should go or how you feel like you should move. That's not how God, he's like, I've asked you to do certain things, and I need for you to be obedient with those things. That's the hardest part. The hardest part is the walk of God is sacrifice. The walk of God don't make sense to everybody. The walk of God is going to call you into and out of things that just literally don't make sense. And you have to say to yourself, I don't care what it looks like, and I don't care what it feels like. I'm going to continue to walk according to what God has called me to. I'm going to continue. That means that even though I don't see it, if God, for example, some of y'all, God is calling you into a season of not dealing with nobody. Like when I say dealing with nobody, I mean dealing with nobody. I mean dealing with nobody. Nobody, nobody, nobody. What does that mean? I'm not talking to nobody. I'm not sleeping with nobody. I'm not chilling with nobody. I'm not kicking it with nobody. God is calling you to a season of singleness. And because the wait seems long, you're like, you know what? I'm just going to create something in the wilderness. I'm not going to go on dates. I'm going to just talk to them on the phone. I'm not going to really be in no relationship, but I'm still going to be sleeping with them. I'm just going to be technically single, but I'm still in a situationship. That is not obedience. That is half-stepping and saying, well, God, if you don't, I have a backup plan. If you don't come through, I've got something here. When God tells you to leave the job, you say, okay, I'm going to just go part-time. I'm not going to like fully leave. I'm going to go part-time and see what you can do. When he tells you to leave the state, I'm not going to leave the state. I'm just going to move to the apartment in the other city. God don't want me to leave states. I don't think. So you are half-stepping obedience. That's not faith. Faith is, I'm going to do exactly what you told me to do for as long as you tell me to do it, even when I don't see it. That's faith. And that is why the steps of faith, the things that God calls us to, the walk that we are called to be on, is not an easy walk. It's not. Most people say that they Christians ain't Christians. I'm just keeping 100 with you. Because the walk is not comfortable. So if you're comfortable and you good doing what you're doing, and I'm not saying, when I say comfortable, there's things God has called me to give up. And y'all, let me tell you something. I have had moments where I have wanted to give up. I say, God, I don't want this. I'm good. I'm actually okay with where I'm at. I'm just going to wait on some different because this is a lot. And I never had peace about it. I could not fight the feeling of like, I'm supposed to hold on. I just couldn't. I started hearing a song in my head called Abide. And if you guys don't understand, the song Abide means endure. And so I'm listening to a random podcast. I didn't even know that. And the lady's like, abide means endure. And I'm like, what? I didn't know that. So God was saying to me, even when I didn't realize it, like, endure. And here's the beautiful thing about it. In enduring, that means that long faith. That means that it may not happen today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, the next day. With different types of faith, I got little angel wings on here. That's cool. But different types of faith, God is calling us to say, you know what? I'm going to still believe. I'm going to still believe. For those of you guys who are coming in, please go ahead and hit the like button. It really does help us get into the algorithm. But I do believe. I believe. Like, even if I don't see it, I believe it. And when you take a stand and you're believing in faith and you're walking in that faith, like, I'm going to give you guys an example. And then we're going to get into the core wounds before we wrap up today so we can really have an understanding. God has said to me on my last, during this journey, he said to me, Sam, I can't continue to bless who you're pretending to be. And I was like, pretending to be? That's harsh. What do you mean? And I knew what he meant. It wasn't like I wasn't like, now you know the voice of God, because it doesn't come with a fight. It comes with a conviction and peace. Like, there is no going back and forth with him. It's like, okay. When you have to keep going back and forth in your head and you're confused and chaotic and you feel rushed and you feel pressed and you feel condemned, that's not God. But when he convicts you, it comes with peace. It's like, you know what I mean? I knew exactly what he was saying. that everything in my life has tried to get me to stop using my voice for him because I'm discounted. I am divorced. I'm a woman. I don't come from the best of everything. I'm not perfect. I have areas of my life that I definitely am still working on. And so because of those things, the enemy has done everything in his power. If you watch my story, if you know anything about me, to shut me up, to get me to be silent, to just be so loud, to discount me, to discourage me. And I've allowed him. I've allowed it. I stopped doing the Miracle Mondays. I started doing content that was relationship oriented because I love relationships. I went to school about relationships, almost got my marriage and family therapy. That was going to be my licensure. I decided to go in a different direction. I need another semester. I wasn't going to stay another semester. And so I allowed that voice to stop me. And God told me when I was in my bathroom, I'm not gonna, I've taken you with the content you're doing, I'm taking you as far as you can go. And I understood that. I knew exactly what he meant. That like my love for him and my fire was for what I'm doing now. It's to be a modern form, a modern version of therapy of him in the world, right? And so I was like, no, I understand that. I know what you mean. That although I'm not typical, not what you normally see on behind a pulpit or anything like that. He called me to a modern form of ministry, which is me doing it the way that I'm doing it, exactly how I am. I heard that and I changed. And even though I might not be getting all the likes or all the comments or all the traction that I once got, I'm being obedient. And I have so much peace in the anointing that I have on it. It's like I know. And so when I see opposition today, I shouldn't have been surprised that I saw opposition trying to shut me up, trying to stop me, trying to like spread lies to get me, the devil's the father of lies. Like he's gonna say things and do things to get you off base. And I'm like, no, I'm not giving up. Like you're not gonna have that again. Like I'm not letting you do that to me. I'm not letting you shut me up. I'm not. I'm not. I feel convicted and I'm going to stay and I'm going to stand. And so some of you guys, even though, yes, I'm not getting all the likes, yes, I'm not getting all the views and all the stuff I was getting. That's fine. I'm being obedient. I'm obeying my calling in life. And so even if I'm not getting all the stuff I was getting, that's going to come. That's going to come. When I keep walking in obedience, it's going to come because God elevates in ways we can't. I've just got to I've got to stay where I'm at, regardless of what y'all say about me, what somebody else says about me. I have to be obedient to the call. You can call me whatever you want to call me. You can say whatever you want to say. I have to be obedient to the call, that regardless of whether you see rain or don't, I'm still going to be building that ark. Regardless if you see me becoming king or not, I'm still going to be out here in this wilderness hiding from Saul and not allowing him to take my life. And even though I've had multiple opportunities to take Saul's life, I'm going to still be obedient to the call regardless. I don't care how uncomfortable this is. I don't care. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, when God calls you to something, you're not going to see the immediate. You're not going to see oh, wow, I did the right thing. Amazing. Like It's going to be opposition because the enemy doesn't want you to go in the direction that God is calling you to. He doesn't want you to get to purpose. He doesn't want you to live a fulfilled life. He doesn't want you to do those things. He wants you to stay right where you are, broken, maybe miserable, running from things. No, I'm going to stand right here, flat-footed, come here, I'm good, let's go. Listen, I'm from Jersey. You want to go there, we can go there. I'm cool with that. I'm all right, enemy. Because I understand it's not people that are the enemy. We're not fighting against flesh and blood. It's not a person that's my enemy. It's a spiritual warfare going on. And guess what? Now that I know who the enemy is, girl, I got aim. I understand where my aim needs to be. My aim isn't people. My aim is spiritual. So anyway, y'all, I say all of that to say that we think that because things are challenging, that's an indication that you're on the wrong path. And the wilderness is not meant to destroy you. It's not meant to mess you up. No, a lot of times we're fighting the wilderness when we should embrace the wilderness. Because let me tell you something. In the wilderness, I have learned how broken I am. That I thought I was doing okay. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm living my life. I'm doing my thing. I'm happy, you know, whatever. I have my forms of peace, whatever the case may be. I'm like, you know, I'm good. I'm good. You know, because there's nothing in my life that's challenging me in a way that makes me feel like there's anything wrong with me. And so here I am, and God says, here's a promise. Let's go through process. I'm like, oh, okay. And in this process, I learn about so many different issues that I have. And there was a breaking moment. That breaking moment happened like, I don't know if it was last Sunday or Sunday before. I think it was last Sunday. Where I was just so, y'all, the destination just seems so far away. And I'm like, I don't know, God. And I'm back and forth. I'm like, I don't know. And I was in church and God spoke through my pastor and said, when you are trying to get an outcome from me, like you're basically, I'm going to fast, I'm going to pray, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that because I want this. It's outcome driven. That's manipulation. That's not covenant. So when in an indication of that is when you don't get the outcome as fast as you wanted, when you wanted, you give up. Because now my outcome is based upon a specific, I want it now, I want it at this time. And if I don't get it, like a spoiled brat, I'm going to have a tantrum, I'm going to give up. You will always have a test in the wilderness that's going to make you feel like it's not going to happen. Always. You're going to see the opposition, you're going to see the obstacles, and you're going to be like, I don't see this. I don't know how this is going to work. There's always going to be that pivotal moment. And y'all, I had multiple moments already in this wilderness where I have wanted to give up over and over and over again. And was because I was committed to the outcome. And because the outcome wasn't happening fast enough or on my timeline or the way I wanted it to, I wanted to give up. And God had to check me. And I was like, you know what, God, I want to want you more than the outcome. I want to want you more. I want the gift giver more than I want the gift. I changed my heart so that I'm in alignment because, you know, to be honest with you, I don't know a love that isn't conditional. I've only experienced, and I don't know about y'all, I've only experienced conditional love. Where as long as I was doing the right thing in the band or whatever the case may be, that's the kind of love I received. And so because of that, because I was only loved conditionally, I only know how to love conditionally. And God's like, no, we're breaking those limits off. I'm going to cause you to love people that ain't doing right by you. I'm going to cause you to love and forgive people that still ain't sorry. I'm going to love and cause you to open yourself up to people and be praying for people that they don't benefit from you and you don't benefit from them. I don't care if they're attacking you online while you're doing this. You still pray for them. I don't care if they're calling you out of your name and spreading lies about you and doing this, that, and the third. I still want you to preach to them. I still want you to pray for them. An unconditional type of love. Because it's easy to love those who love you. It's hard to love people that don't or are acting like they don't. But that's how you get promoted. Joseph and David were only promoted once they were able to love their enemies. The very people that were out there to try to hurt them and actually take their lives, they ended up blessing. All this revenge and petty and go back and forth and do all this and go on the internet and blast each other, that ain't got nothing to do with God. That has nothing to do with the heart of God. God was never like that. He only promoted people that were able to handle promise in a way that was responsible. He was only promoting people that their heart posture was right. He was not going to promote you or get you out of a wilderness when you still being petty and you still trying to get people back and you still trying to paint them in a negative light. That is not promotion worthy. That is demotion. And the more you do it, the more you demote you. And it's not necessarily in the physical. In the spiritual, you demote yourself every single time you walk in a way that is contradictory to the path that God has you on. You bless those who curse you. All this, oh, I'm going to get you back. I'm going to expose you. That ain't got nothing to do with the heart of God. Nothing. And even if you were to convict or to say something about somebody, you were supposed to do it in love. No, it's not sometimes you have to defend yourself. You stand up for yourself, but there's a way you do it. I'm not saying you just let people walk all over you, but what I am saying is there's a way to do it. So anyway, y'all, in this time, because of all that I've experienced, what I've learned in this is there's 5 core wounds. Now, somebody asked me earlier in the chat, how many, core wounds are there more? There are more, and you can definitely look those up. But there's 5 main core wounds. Okay. And I found this out because in this process, the biggest thing God was breaking me out of was being so committed to how I wanted things to be done. I'm very inflexible. And so it's hard for me to relax. Like if it doesn't look the way I thought it was going to look, I'm like, okay, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I'm out. And God's like, no. Just because it doesn't happen the way you wanted it to happen or how you wanted it to happen don't mean it's not happening. So God has really worked on breaking me out of my fixed vision of what things look like or what I think they should be. Because that was hindering him. Because God's way is not my way. His thoughts are not my thoughts. So if I'm expecting God to move the way I move, I'm also expecting, I'm saying I'm a God. I have God-like thoughts and I have God-like vision, and I don't. We were made in the image of God, but we are not God. So when he kind of was convicting me about this, there were some things that I want you guys to really know. There are 5 core soul wounds. The first one is so every core wound, before I start reading this off, every core wound has a mask. And a lot of times, especially for myself, a lot of times there's the way that you identify the core wound is going to be the mask that you wear. All right. So as I read these core wounds and I say mask, you'll be like, oh, I do that. And that might be something that you need to look into more. You are not limited to 1 core wound. I have 3. I'm being honest with you. Some people have, they say you have it. Everybody has at least 1. So you can have all 5 of them. And like I said, there are more, but these are the 5 main ones. And for you guys who are like, okay, now that I know I have a core wound, what does that mean? Look into your core wound. Understand how your core wound manifests in you. And in that, you then take it to God. You're like, listen, I don't want this. The Bible talks about the refining of Christians as it would the refining of metals like gold and silver. And what they do is they put gold and silver in hot furnaces and they raise the temperature to 7,000 degrees. In this, the impurities rise to the top. And with the person that's working the gold or working the silver, what they do is they keep wiping the impurities off the top until it's transparent, until they can see their reflection in it. That's how you know there's no more impurities in gold and silver, is that you can see your reflection. And so what you'll find is that God, if you keep giving God your impurities, God is going to wipe them off the top. It's not about you trying to figure out how to stop it or not to do it or this, that, and the third. It's about you being able to say, God, I struggle here. This is an area of a core wound. I don't really know how to heal this. Help me. And that's a daily thing, because we've had these core wound issues for years, for decades. Some of us don't know our lives without them. So you have to continue to, surrender those things and see if your core wound is speaking up, your core wound is talking, or is you talking, right? So here we go. First one, like I said, it helps you to identify your wound by identifying the mask you wear. Okay. So the first core wound is rejection. The mask that person wears tends to be a withdrawer or a stonewaller, somebody that withdraws. They tend to withdraw into their own world a lot. That is somebody that is possibly, more than likely, dealing with the core wound of rejection. And this is somebody that doesn't want to be in a position of vulnerability, doesn't desire to be rejected again. So they do not put themselves in positions where that can happen. All right. They actively avoid those situations. A person with a rejection wound feels unworthy of love and often withdraws to avoid further rejection. Now, family, please take the ego out. Don't allow your ego to speak. I ain't afraid of nobody turning me down. I'm me. Blah, blah, blah. No, that's not real. Real fake stuff don't get healed. Real stuff get healed. So if you're struggling with that, you don't have to say it in the chat. You don't have to say it to me, but you definitely want to be able to say it to you. Admit it to yourself. Accountability is key. We can't expect other people to be accountable. We're not being accountable. If you wear the mask of withdrawing, that's your thing. You probably struggle with or have had struggle with rejection. You might have had a traumatic rejection experience and it's caused you to push people away, keep them at arm's length and say, listen, I'm only going to let you get so close because I've been rejected before and it hurt and I don't want this to happen again. I was rejected by a parental figure. I was rejected by a childhood friend. I was rejected by a team. I was rejected by something that was extreme, that was traumatic for you. It doesn't have to make sense to nobody else. You were overlooked. There's different people in the Bible that struggle with rejection. Okay. So rejection. A person with rejection wound feels unworthy of love, often withdraws to further rejection. I'm not going to let you get close to me to hurt me. So I'm just going to keep you right here, right there. Nope. And so the very love that person desires, they push away. The very thing that they want, they push away. Because they're afraid of it. I don't know. So they push it away, push it away, push it away. And that's because of the fear. They don't want to put themselves in a position where someone can come in and hurt them again. They don't feel like they can handle that. Not again. They struggle with perfectionism. They have a tendency to escape reality, maybe in video games, watching content, whatever they're into, they escape to their work. I saw a lot of video games though. Video games like their own reality. They have their own world. They escape the reality for their reality. All right. And they're attracted to the intellectual and spiritual world. So they're very intelligent. Documentaries intrigue you. You like being educated. You like learning, and you like the spiritual world. You are into your faith. You be watching your sermons, you be watching your stuff. You're there, but there's something about you that keeps you at arm's length with people. You don't let them get too close. Mm-mm. You want closeness, but you don't let them get too close. You desire that, and if somebody is not threatening, like they don't threaten you, you let them closer. You can't really hurt me, so I'm gonna let you close. You can't really hurt me, so I'm okay with that. The problem is that you're sabotaging yourself. You don't even realize it. It is a form, a strong form of self-sabotage. Strong. Because the very thing you desire, you push away. You cannot allow this wound to dictate, because there's going to be things, opportunities, and a lot of times it's love, right? You are allowing this, and there's y'all, God connecting you with somebody that's for you, that yes, the person that you're pushing away, that you want close, that person God may be dealing with you in that area to say, stop. No, I'm here with you. You ain't got to fear that. But because we're afraid, we don't listen to God. We say, no, I don't know about that, God. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to do that. No, I'm going to let this less threatening person in, who, y'all, a lot of times these less threatening people are the Delilahs and the Jezebels. Just being honest. And when I say Delilah and Jezebel, I'm not limiting that to just a female. Delilahs and Jezebels can be men. It's a spirit. And that spirit is meant to take you away from purpose. So you might be thinking they're less threatening, and the enemy wants you to think they're less threatening. Absolutely. So that you can stay right there, and he don't have to worry about you getting to purpose. He don't have to worry about you getting to peace. He don't have to, because now you're going to just continue to seek external means or lesser means to fulfill higher needs. And you're going to be on that trajectory for the rest of your life. You're going to be on a hamster wheel. And there's going to be things that God has planned for you specifically that will not manifest, because you're allowing this rejection wound to keep you stuck. Do not let it. If you identify the wound, address it. And I'm not saying address it with people. I'm saying address it with God. Address it with somebody you are strong with in the faith. Like somebody that you have as an accountability person, somebody that you could talk to about God. Address it with somebody you trust in faith. Don't just share it with your mama and your daddy. Sometimes they're not equipped to be able to handle the things that you're dealing with or where God is moving you to. Okay? Abandonment wound, number 2. The mask that person wears is codependent or dependency. Somebody who can't, they struggle with being alone, and they struggle with feeling alone. So their fear is loneliness. A person with an abandonment wound struggles with deep sadness, a need for attention, and difficulty functioning independently. They need constant reassurance, merge into other people's emotions. They fear loneliness and may create drama or overextend themselves to feel valued or supported. So somebody who's dependent, somebody who can't be alone, I've met people that I can smell they're codependent. And they try to put up that, oh, I'm good, blah, 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 blah. You in a broken relationship. You won't leave it because you're afraid to be alone. It's great to feel big and bad when you're not alone. But when you get into a relationship, when you get out of that relationship, can you be alone? That's why when people say, I can't be alone, that's a problem. You need to face that. You need to face that. Don't allow yourself to get into that. Do not allow yourself. No. You need to face loneliness. You need to experience loneliness. Why is loneliness so scary for you? No. Deal with it. Deal with the uncomfortability. What is loneliness bringing up? That's probably where God needs you to be to heal you, to set you free. You've got to dig into it. Don't run from it. Dig into it. Number 3 is humiliation. Humiliation. And this is a lot with people that have been bullied, or maybe their family was like they kind of was hard on them in that way, like they made jokes about them. You know, people that just, or they dealt with a relationship where somebody constantly made jokes about them and how they looked or how they went about things. The mask that that person wears is the self-punisher or the martyr. That means somebody that constantly puts themselves in positions of pain, like, or extending themselves, or, oh, I have to do this for my family. I got to do this. I got to do Like they're always feeling the need to be somebody victim. Not a victim, but they harm themselves. They basically hurt themselves before anybody hurts them. Like they're gonna tell the joke on themselves before anybody can say the joke. They're gonna think of what somebody could say about them before they're stealing the joke from them. You always say that, like when people are, dealing with certain things and you arguing with them, you basically take the argument from them. Right? You take the argument from them. So you basically say, I know you're going to say this, this, and this, but this is why that's not true. You take the joke from it. Okay? So that person is like, they punish themselves. They make themselves the butt of the joke before anybody else does. They put themselves in positions of pain or sacrifice before anybody else does. They feel the need to do that. They tend to overextend themselves to the extent where there's always something going on. Oh, I had to give somebody money. I had to do this. I had to do that. And that's the mask they wear. The mask they wear is like overextending themselves into a place where it hurts them. The freedom, their fear is freedom. A person with a humiliation wound keeps themselves constantly busy, helping others to reduce guilt and avoid personal freedom, which they fear due to a lack of limits. Beneath their humble exterior, because they're usually very humble, like they're very humble, they're very accountable, they'll say things that you just feel like they're just an amazing person. Not that they're not an amazing person, that's not the point, but they come off very, very, very humble. Beneath their humble exterior lies a hidden pride, a fear of sensuality, and a deep need to sacrifice themselves to feel worthy and avoid judgment. That is the fear. That is humiliation, where you've got to make yourself the butt of the joke. You've got to be the one who's putting themselves out there always. You just don't want to be humiliated, right? You've been humiliated. Maybe there's some life circumstance that happened where you feel like maybe you faced bankruptcy. Your family knows it, or you had a drug issue and everybody knows it, and it was embarrassing for you, the levels that you went to or what happened. You feel the need to overextend yourself to prove yourself, to prove it. It's to ease the guilt of the things that you've allowed happen to yourself. You used to allow people to see happen to you. Hey, Adjua. Great to see you, boo. I miss you too. Number 4 is betrayal. The mask that this person wears is the controller, right? They're a control freak. Somebody who has been betrayed are controlling. They don't like it when anybody else has the mic. They need to make sure they're in control of what's happening at all times. And if they're not in control, it sets them into an anxious spiral. They tend to be in relationships that they can control. They don't like being in relationships they can't control, because that's scary for them. So they might be with somebody they don't really want to be with just because they're more in control. Their fear is separation and denial. They don't want to be denied. They don't want to be in a situation where they're going to be the ones left at the altar, so to speak. And so they gonna make sure they're in situations that are quote unquote safe. This person with this core wound struggles with trust, control, and the fear of being let down, often believing they must take charge to ensure success. They always got to have something to say, always got to be in charge. They can't let just anything go, right? They seek importance, they impose their views, and can be impatient and manipulative, all while unknowingly deepening their fear of abandonment and betrayal. Okay? So just because they're in control the more that they exert their control, the more they actually trigger themselves, because the biggest fear really is for them to be denied. So they specifically put themselves in positions where they're more in control to try to mitigate the risk of being betrayed. So they'll seek out relationships that are beneath them. They'll seek out situations that are beneath them just in order to not feel that they're not in control. Okay? Comes down to being in control. Okay? Number 5 is injustice. The last core wound is injustice. The mask that person wears is rigid, inflexible. Okay? So this is honestly, y'all, this is my core wound. I ain't gonna lie. This is my main one. I got a couple, but this is the one that comes out a lot, and I'm struggling with it. I just feel like I need to be honest about that. I'm not gonna sit here and play like I just got this all taken, Sam just got this down. No, I'm God is dealing with me too. I want, when I'm coming on here, y'all, I'm not coming from a place of up. I'm coming from a place of right with you. I'm coming from a place of like, I'm here too. Like God is dealing with me too. I know a lot of people, we come on and we know Bible and we research and we've done things, but we're not coming from an authentic place. I want to be an authentic place. I want to be honest. I'm not going to come on here high and mighty, because I'm not. God is dealing with me too. God is dealing with me too. And the beautiful thing is I was fighting so hard to get out of the wilderness, y'all. And when God revealed to me, like, there's core wounds, I realized that in the process of me understanding that there were core wounds, I realized that him exposing me to my core wounds, him having me randomly, like, he's like, go out on walks, go outside. Exposing to my core wounds, having me go outside, doing different things. I realized that he was healing me while I was fighting. And so I'm over here fighting him, not understanding that even though he told me this journey was going to be this way and go in this direction, he's trying to heal me. He's trying to restore me. I'm fighting that because I'm thinking this is punishment. No, this is not punishment. This is preparation. You're in the wilderness because I'm trying to finally heal you from the wounds. I'm trying to finally heal you from the things that you carry that cause you to act this way, that cause you to think this way. I want you to be set free from your old ways. You're not like this, Sam. You're not like this. You're like this because of pain, because of trauma, because of betrayal. This is not who you were created to be. This is what pain has taught you. Some of y'all are living and you're like, this is just who I am. It's not who you are. This is what pain taught you. I don't want to walk as a walking reaction. I want to respond. People are like, oh, they don't like the wilderness. To be honest with you, I've grown to like the wilderness, even so much so, y'all, that I had a moment the other day. I'm like, God, am I supposed to like this? Aren't I supposed to be upset about this? But I've actually found, after not fighting the journey, I'm like, you know what, God, I want you more than this. I surrender to this place. I want to be healed. I want to do what you called me to do. I want that. And in that, he's taught me to be good right where I'm at. Like, even if I'm not where he has for me, contentment right here. In a space where I'm still working. I'm still growing. And I've learned to just be okay with that. Last point, y'all, and I'll let you guys go. A person with the wound of injustice strives for perfection, suppressing their true emotions, and always appearing positive and in control. They reject vulnerability, overwork themselves to prove their worth, and struggle with intimacy due to their rigid need for fairness and self-sufficiency. I had to learn that, family, my core wound, as much as it helps me in certain areas, it hurts me in the areas that I desire most for myself. That pain taught me things from childhood on that are not functional. They don't really help me live the life God wants me to live. In order for me to really step into the promised land, God has to allow wilderness. Because if we're honest, if we look at the story of Joseph in the Bible, Joseph did not have the character to walk out the calling when we first meet him. When we first see Joseph in Genesis, he's bragging, he's a tattletale. He does not have the character to be second in the command in the most powerful country in the world. He just doesn't have it. He's petty. He then has to go through a process that, yes, takes 12 years. But that process allows him to have the responsibility that when his family comes to see him, he's not being petty. He ain't holding nothing over them. He understands purpose. He's like, I forgive y'all. I'm not holding nothing against y'all. I now have the character to manage the calling. So for everybody watching me, I want you guys to not fight the wilderness. It's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. But there's purpose here. Be obedient. Being disobedient, not doing what God calls you to do, is only going to make your wilderness longer. You're just extending your own wilderness. It's almost like a diet, y'all, where we over here not eating the right. That ain't you cheating on your diet hurts you. You cheating on your diet takes you further from your goal. That's on you. That's what you've got to live with. If you want to sit out here and you want to go eat McDonald's every day, that's you doing that to you. You're not doing that to nobody. It's the same thing with purpose. You choosing to step out of purpose, you choosing to not do what God's called you to do, is you saying, okay, I'm going to delay my own promise. I'm going to delay the answer to the prayer I'm asking. Because we want God to move answers. We want God to move mountains for us. We want God to move mountains for us, but we're not willing to cross a puddle for him. He asked us to do something like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. But God, please answer my prayer, Lord. Please, Jesus. Let it in, God. And it's like, okay, but are you going to be obedient or not? Because if you're not going to do your part, I'm not going to do my part. If you're going to still walk in disobedience, I'm still not going to give you what you want. If you're going to still act the way you want to act, but you want me to, now I'm a good father. So even with my daughter, for example, my baby's not going to miss a meal. My baby's not going to have, no clothes on her back or anything like that. But there's certain things that obedience unlocks with my daughter. She does well in school. There's more things I'm willing to the events, the candy, the ice cream, all those things come with being obedient. There's certain things obedience unlocks even in the human form. The same thing with God. A lot of us, we don't like this manipulative type of love. Oh, I don't want nobody to be with me for no reason and just with me for this, that, and the third. But yet that's exactly why we're doing this thing with God. We're doing this thing with God because we want something from him. And as soon as we get what we want from him, we abandon him. And that's a very love that we all are like on the internet, like, oh, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. But why would you give him that? You just want the genie in the bottle type God. But you don't want nobody to treat you like no genie in the bottle. The point of the process is preparation and his character. And having a relationship with God. Where Moses, on the way to the promised land, did he want the promised land? Of course. He never stopped wanting the promised land. But what he started to seek more than anything wasn't the promised land. He started to seek God's face. He had a relationship with God. He had such a strong relationship with God. There were times where people couldn't even see his face because he had spent so much time with God. He was glowing. They couldn't even look at him. He had developed such a relationship with God that even when when he passed away, they had to hide his body because they knew that the people of Israel would try to start worshiping him. Family, the point of the wilderness is preparation and promise. Do not get out of that. Do not get out of that. Don't misunderstand what this is about. This is not to punish you. This is preparing you. This is making you better. This is taking you to the next level. Don't fight it. Trust it. He is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he would change his mind. And you may find, just like I did, that on the way to promise, I found something even better. That, yeah, he's got a promise for me. But he said, I'm going to heal you. I'm going to heal those wounds you didn't even think you could fix. I'm going to heal the parts of you you didn't even know existed, that you didn't even know were broken. That's the kind of God we serve. That's the kind of God we serve. That even in our brokenness, he still loves us. He still chooses us. Don't fight the wilderness, family. Allow the wilderness to be a place where you embrace God in a way you have never embraced him before. Be obedient. Stop fighting it. You're only delaying your own wilderness. And if you want to keep doing you, keep doing you. But you keep getting your results. You'll keep getting your level. Why don't you try it God's way for real this time? And not just so you can get what you want from him, but so that he can give you exceedingly abundantly above all that you could ever think or imagine. And I'll be honest with you, that's me having a relationship with my creator. That gives me the strength to come on here, even when it's hard. To walk in purpose, to be faced with opposition, and not be affected the same way anymore. Keep walking in purpose, family. Period. Because I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what you got going on. If you ain't walking in purpose, it's never going to be good enough. Never. All right? I love y'all. I'm going to talk to you guys soon. I'll see you guys on Monday for our regular schedule live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love you guys. Have a great night.